Have you ever wondered why birthdays, Christmas, or New Year don't feel special to some people? Why there's no excitement, no anticipation, no urge to celebrate? Or are you someone who quietly lives those days like they're just another date on the calendar? Here's a psychology fact you're probably not ready for. Some people don't ignore celebrations because they don't care. They avoid them because their mind learned that joy attracts attention, and attention once came with pain. If you've ever treated your birthday like a normal day, brushed off praise, or felt uncomfortable when people made a fuss about you, this truth is going to hit harder than you expect. Most people think not celebrating means you're cold, ungrateful, or emotionally distant. But psychology says something much deeper is happening, and once you see it, you'll never look at your silence the same way again. Psychologists call this emotional minimization, a quiet mental habit where a person learns to keep joy small, invisible, and private. Not because they don't feel happiness, but because feeling it openly once came with consequences. This pattern shows up everywhere. You downplay achievements. You feel awkward when people clap for you. You'd rather be alone than have a room full of attention focused on you. Maybe you've told yourself, it's not a big deal, but your brain is making that decision long before you realize it. And here's the part most people misunderstand. This isn't introversion. It's not maturity. And it's definitely not emotional strength. It's a learned survival response. But here's where it gets even worse. Most people stop at the surface explanation. I just don't like celebrating. And that's the biggest mistake they don't even realize they're making, because the mind that avoids celebration isn't neutral. It's cautious. And caution, when left unchecked, slowly turns into emotional isolation. Here's the harsh truth. Your brain doesn't avoid celebration because it's humble. It avoids it because at some point, being visible became unsafe. Maybe when you were younger, excitement was shut down. Maybe happiness invited criticism. Maybe attention brought pressure, jealousy, or abandonment. So your nervous system adapted. It learned, if I don't expect much, I won't be disappointed. If I don't stand out, I won't be hurt. If I keep joy quiet, I'll stay in control. And now, years later, this pattern shows up in subtle ways. You don't announce milestones. You feel uncomfortable being praised. You feel oddly empty on days that are supposed to feel special. Psychology calls this protective emotional flattening, when the mind lowers emotional highs to avoid emotional crashes. Your brain thinks it's protecting you, but it's also shrinking your life. But here's the part nobody wants to admit. The longer you avoid celebrating yourself, the harder it becomes to believe you're worth celebrating at all. And that belief quietly rewrites everything. This happens because the brain is not designed for truth. It's designed for survival. If, at some point, your mind learned that happiness was temporary, fragile, or punished, it adjusted your emotional volume. Lower expectations, lower reactions, lower visibility. Your mind thinks it's helping you by keeping life emotionally predictable. But the reality is this: predictability kills meaning. This is why the same people who don't celebrate also struggle to feel fulfilled. Why achievements feel empty. Why success feels oddly quiet. Your brain avoids emotional highs, but it also avoids deep satisfaction. And most people never notice this pattern because it feels normal. You tell yourself, I don't need validation. I'm low maintenance. I don't like attention. But psychology reveals something uncomfortable. Avoiding attention isn't the same as being secure. Sometimes it's a sign that your mind learned to disappear to stay safe. If this hits you, good. It means you're finally seeing the pattern. So here's the question you've been avoiding. Are you actually content, or have you just gotten used to emotional silence? Because silence feels peaceful until you realize it's empty. If you want to break this cycle, start with this. Private celebration before public celebration. Your brain doesn't trust big emotions yet, so don't force them. Instead, quietly acknowledge moments that matter. Alone, write them down. Sit with them for 30 seconds longer than feels comfortable. Let the feeling exist without shutting it down. Second, practice receiving without deflecting. When someone compliments you, don't explain it away. Don't joke it off. Just say, "Thank you." That single sentence retrains the nervous system. And finally, stop minimizing your own milestones. Your mind learned to survive by shrinking joy. Now it's time to teach it that joy doesn't always end in pain. Do this consistently, and something changes. Not overnight, but deeply. Now you understand why some quiet minds don't celebrate. Not because they're empty, but because they learn to protect themselves too well. The goal isn't to become loud. It's to stop disappearing from your own life. And if this made you feel seen, imagine what happens when you understand the psychology behind your other quiet patterns too. That's exactly what we're uncovering next.